Well, thank you all for joining me in this virtual art opening. This is a new world for us. I think maybe we're all being on the vanguard of something new here. This new Zoom reality, I think it's good, and I think there's some bad. Some of the bad, I'd like to say, is I think you're all missing the intimacy of being in the gallery and, just feeling the impact of the paintings. The paintings would have an impact if you walked into the room and saw them all at once. And there's an intimacy you're missing when you stand in front of the painting to view it. And also sharing a viewing with friends. The good thing is that so many more of you can make it to the opening than normally would. And, some of you are not close, and it's great that you could join in on this. The other good thing is my paintings are very colorful and bold, and they really look fabulous on a computer screen. I'm happy about that. And the other thing which people have mentioned is you don't have to suffer with cheap wine and cheese cubes. You can get your own refreshments. So I want to thank the Monmouth Museum for selecting me as one of the finalists in the New Jersey Emerging Artists Series. I'm very honored to be selected, and I'm very honored to be amongst a very talented group of people. I want to thank Donna Kessinger and Campbell Glenn for setting up the show, the real show, the virtual show, and this Zoom opening. I want to thank Donna, my wife, for all the support she is giving me in this project, this ongoing project, and for putting up with my stashing these fairly large canvases all over the house, and for ruining the carpeting in this room. I hope you all have the opportunity to come to the gallery in July, don a mask, but we don't know what's happening with that, so let's just keep our fingers crossed. So let's get started. Around 12 years ago, when Amanda was a sophomore in college, I started taking drawing classes, life drawing classes at the Art Students League. Graphic design business was in New York at the time, and I wanted to do something creative with all the new free time that I had. And I always enjoyed life drawing in college. I graduated with a BA in Liberal Arts Art from SUNY Plattsburgh, New York. I went to Pratt Institute for a year in graduate school for communication design. I left that program and ended up working in New York in the advertising business, and probably not one of my better moves, but I ended up starting a graphic design company, and I've been doing that for about 40 years now, and I'm still doing that. So at the time, I wanted to get away from the computer and doing things on the computer. I really wanted to start doing something tactful, drawing, painting. So that's why the Art Students League was perfect. It was in the city, it was after work. I love to draw, I love to get my hands dirty. I also love designing on the computer, and they're two different things. They're really both creative, but they're sort of two sides of the same coin. I do workshops in New Jersey. These drawings you see were done at workshops. There was a life drawing workshop, nude, and there were life drawing workshops where the models were clothed. I really like drawing a clothed model. I think it tells a story when you see that. About 10 years ago, I started painting using acrylic, and I kept on drawing. My creative juice derives from color. To me, it's all about the color. It makes me take notice of things. I think it's very visceral and it's very powerful. So when color is combined with compositional, textural, and lighting elements, its power grows. I would see things and I would photograph them because of that power. As we go through the show, you will see how color, texture, composition, and lighting are very important to me. My paintings also have a very graphic quality. These are some of the earlier paintings that I did. This painting is important to me because it's the last painting I did before embarking on the home store journey. It's important because of the framing. You know, we all know when you see this painting that the house extends beyond this, and the fence extends beyond this, and the roof goes up, and this house and yard exist on a street. But one of my strengths, I think, was being able to focus in on what was visually exciting. So close framing will be carried out through many of the paintings you will see in the show. It creates an intimacy with the viewer. This painting also allows for a lot of interesting composition. As a graphic designer, I like to see order to the picture plane. Not necessarily things to be lined up, but they have to have a sense of sort of purpose. It has to work. So the other reason I'm showing you this painting, because I love this painting, it's one of my favorites, and I have the opportunity to show it to a lot of people. It's not in the show.
I like it.
Let's go shopping. We haven't been able to do much browsing lately, so I think it would be fun to go shopping at the home store. I hope you find everything you're looking for and enjoy some art while you're there. And please don't forget your wallet. I spend a good amount of time at Home Depot selling air conditioning as a part-time job. I started doing that when the graphic design business had a little bit of a lull, and it was a good idea to get out of the house and, you know, make some money. As I walked around the store, in my mind's eye, I would see these objects, and I would see colors and shapes and lighting, and I would see that it would all come together at some point into what I would call a paintable moment. I would photograph these objects with an iPhone and then use it as a tool to recreate these objects as a bold expression of color and composition. I've taken over 400 pictures in the store. I would then take the photograph and bring it into InDesign, Adobe InDesign, sometimes Photoshop, and then play around with it and kind of mash it up. The paintings in the show are in a chronological order. I wanted you to see how my idea, vision, implementation, and level of observation have grown over the last 3 years. My intent of the work is not to portray an exact interpretation, but to create a sense of delight in having you, the viewer, see the object and see the abstraction and enjoy what you're looking at. And I have to tell you that I might have achieved this goal. There are a few people who are out there in the Zoom audience that have sent me photos of objects they have seen while shopping or while at home or maybe while playing with their grandkids. And I have to tell you how really touched I am by that, because that just tells me that I've touched someone and they actually do get to see something differently. The other idea I've explored, and this is not really politically correct, but I have this idea that I would like to do paintings that men can relate to. And I don't mean to be exclusive. I want women to enjoy them too. But I think it would be really good if men started going to art galleries more and seeing, you know, paintings more and started to appreciate them. I really am trying to do is I would like to create some artwork that men might be able to relate to. This was the first painting that I did, Home Depot mashup. I stood in front of the plumbing department for a long time, and then one day I just saw this as, wow, this is a paintable moment. This can make a great painting. So of course I photographed it, I mashed it up, I took it into InDesign and I worked it out, and I realized that it wasn't working as a straight photograph. It really needed to be something else. So I came upon the idea of flipping it. And all of a sudden, there was a lot to look at. There's lots of color going on. There's motion. There's framing with the orange. I thought that this is going to be a good painting. It needed to be big, so it is. It's 36 by 48 to fill the canvas. And the mashup, the turning it upside down, actually gives it a kind of tilt of the head interest that I was looking for. The other thing that about this painting is when people look at it, they all know what store they're in. So I'm going to digress and just go back one slide. I just want to show you, and I wasn't going to do this. This painting is the painting that started the whole thing. This photograph that I'm pointing to in the upper right corner is really, it's actually the second picture I ever took in the store, and that's what spurred this painting. So, moving on. This painting is not in the show for various reasons, but I think it's important in the development of the idea and in the progress of what I was doing. So I thought it would be a good idea when I saw this this nail aisle, that it would be a good idea to do two paintings in a row as if you were walking down the aisle. The painting also was like a color chart to me. It starts with the yellow and goes through the spectrum and ends up with the red. It was just an idea that I was working on. I have to tell you, it's not in the show for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was very wide, and believe it or not, in the virtual space, there was a limit to what I could put in. And the other hand, I don't think it's really painted very well. And I don't quite know if this concept works yet, so we'll see. And so it's not included, but I thought it would be good to put in the show to show you the progression. Have you ever really looked at the stack of fertilizer? This is Turf Builder. I saw the beauty in it right away. The vivid blues, the crisp edges, and the way the light glinted off the bags. There's a real energy to the way the bags are stacked up on top of one another and how they tuck into one another. There are many different shades of blue, punctuated by the beige and the green and the orange. And I really like the way the bags interact. I added the orange background because at the time with this painting, I thought that I needed to sort of be consistent with the Home Depot idea. And, you know, I was going to make I thought I was on this project, but the orange actually works. It's a very good complementary color to the blue. These last three paintings are very beginning of formulating what I think is what I want to do. So I think they're important, but I didn't think that we're there yet. I think this is just the beginning of what I want to work at. This is Pledge from Above. Everybody knows Pledge, this product. When I saw this display from the top, I knew that this was going to be a beautiful graphic abstraction. There are subtle differences in the tops and the shading and in the buttons, the way they turn a little bit, and I think that made it very intriguing. When you look closely, there's a lot of push and pull of the edges. Many people thought this painting looked like bugs. Some people thought it looked like eyes. That's when I realized, and it's very important in my paintings, that the titles are important that I give these paintings. Some of them, what they do is that they connect to the painting. So you know this isn't a bugs. You know this is what you're looking at, and that's what makes it even more intriguing, I think. The background color is chosen because it's really when the painting starts to inform you what you need to do. I really think that magenta, that purple, and that green really needed to be put there just to make everything else work. That's not part of the reality. Color and composition in this really caught my eye. This painting is probably the most similar to my earlier paintings that I showed you. There's a wonderful flow between the colors. The gloves seem to be floating because of the sea green background that I put in. That takes the gloves out of context and it adds interest. I discovered in doing this painting the technique of preparing a darker underpainting and proceeded to add the yellow and the red in many layers. I also experimented with adding white on top of the underpainting. So parts of the yellow and the red really start to pop off on this because of that. And it's displayed against the black separators in the glove that make these colors pop. With the undershading also, what happens is I got to achieve a very smooth transition on the gloves themselves, so they softened the glove. This is just a lovely way to look at gloves. It's glovely. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip. The next painting,
Like this.
Ladders. This is a very important painting in my progress. It is the first painting that best achieves the idea of creating an object but mashing it up that it also creates an abstraction. There is vertical movement on the ladder sides, the orange. There's horizontal movement on the steps with the light, and the light bounces off the steps. Some things are lined up, some are not. The eye keeps moving around. There's real depth in this painting. And there's some stuff going on in the background. If you really take a look, there's not a lot going on, but there's just enough going on that your eye is really drawn into this canvas. I also used these orange, I extended the orange on the sides of the painting to connect the top half and the bottom half. And I think it works really well. This painting was not easy to come by. This was not something that popped out at me. I took the picture and I really had to work a long time on getting it to be the right mashup. But I consider this the gold standard of my work that I try to achieve in the paintings that as we move forward. And as you will see, I probably don't always get there. Pads 2-pack. This painting did jump out at me. Passing this display, I saw instantly what you see now. It was a combination of fantastic colors, shapes, repetition, and a randomness tied together by the dark blue band labels on the top. And they're just slightly askew. So it's really a wonderful abstraction, but with the light glinting off the plastic wrap, just gives it a dose of reality. The background color takes the object out of its realness. It's a flat background, and the dark center was put there because I think it holds the objects together and draws your eye into the center. I think it holds the circles together. The dowels. Did you know there are different colors at the end of each dowel? I suspect it's a pricing thing, and I really love that. I was attempting to achieve the same kind of reality abstraction that the ladders presented, but I don't think that happened here. I think something else happened, and I think it was all about the color. The mashup allowed me to fill the space with the colorful dowels. So this was a display that was very long, that I knew I couldn't paint that canvas, and I really liked the color on one end of it. So of course I photographed it and did my thing in InDesign and flipped it up and did the mashup. I also added the price tags to this painting. One, to give it consistency, because I think I kept, I wanted to have a track of what I was doing that, we're in a Home Depot store. I also think they break up the eye a little, and they fill the space. I think it adds a consistency to the work that I'm doing to it, connects it to some of the past work. Bristles. I just saw this box of brushes, and I love the way the color is juxtaposed to each other and the movement it created by the bristles and by the black base that they stand on. There's a lot of texture in this painting. This is the first time that I actually kept the cardboard box in it, and I think it added context. The red background is strictly my doing. I think this is just a very pretty painting to look at. And I'll give you a second to look at it. Duct tape diamond. This was something different. I painted this on a small gesso wood board and found out very quickly that the paint did not absorb. So it sits on top of the board, and I had to push the paint around a lot. I ended up using a looser paint stroke. I think the duct tape from above makes a wonderful graphic pattern. The dark black, the gray, the green in little different positions adds a lot of momentum. The shapes on the right are my legs, or they're a flattened version of my legs. It's going to appear in a few other paintings, and it is a compositional element that I add, but I'm not so sure that it may become a signature. I wasn't sure at the time. The orange on the bottom too was also added. Again, I kept thinking I needed to relate it to the series that I was working on. That's very much a Home Depot thing. I think this painting is actually an excellent example of the reality abstract concept.
Cool.
This painting is similar to the previous painting in a few respects. The main shape and objects is in the middle of the picture. The background color is similar, and there's sort of an abstract thing going on in the background, and I added that touch of orange. Because nothing is centered, the background and composition is very important, and it really draws your eye to the center. The barrel is slightly off, skewed on the canvas. It's skewed to the right a little bit, and the view inside is skewed also, with the bottom of the barrel much more prominent than the top. And also the lighting in this. The lighting at the bottom of the barrel is really just as bright as the top of the barrel. So I think your eye is drawn in, and yet it's sort of also drawn out because of the sides of the barrel. So I think there's a lot of dynamism going on in this painting. The only day, this is the only time, one day in all my days of working at that store, that I actually walked by this display, and someone there had set up all these spray bottles in a circle around the barrel. And I thought, wow, what a moment. I really have other pictures, but the barrels, the spray bottles aren't around, all around the barrel. So I took advantage of that. On kind of a comical note, I kind of think of this as a science fiction thing, that the spray bottles on the top are like the council of elders looking down at the bad spray bottles on the bottom because they were trying to take down the empire or something. I don't know. It's a little crazy, but I kind of just get that feel about that.
Hey, Ryan.
I do think this painting is powerful, it's abstract, it's real, and it's compelling. And yes, those are my legs at the bottom of the canvas. These two paintings, I really tried to do something different. I really wanted to explore how to paint plastic wrap. I wanted to see what it did with the color, and I wanted to see what it did to the object behind it. What happened was, when I walked around the store, I took a lot of pictures one time. They had a bunch of wrapped snowblowers, which I put the photo in the bottom of this show because I think they were truly fantastic. And I said, that's going to make a painting someday. But I wanted to get an idea of how to paint the plastic wrap. So I started working on the poinsettia and on the stacked up and wrapped tight because they were just easier to work on. I was just doing the easy stuff first. I have not started the snowblower painting yet because, like I just said, that's going to be a hard one. So let's do the easy stuff first. The poinsettias, they're just showing a little bit of poinsettia. So now like a preview of what Christmas is going to be like. The sharpness and the brightness of the colors are just peeking through. You know, many people are always looking forward to Christmas, but you always have to wait. And now you have to wait to unwrap the plastic to see the poinsettias in all their glory. The other painting, I have no idea what was wrapped behind that plastic, but I really love the way the plastic stretched, and I really tried to capture that, and I really tried to capture what was stuffed into the bags. There's a weightiness to this that I was trying to capture. I'm not so sure I got there yet. I'm not sure the verdict is out on this yet, but stay tuned for the snowblower painting. It's going to get unwrapped one of these days. The scrapers. This painting speaks for itself as an everyday product displayed in an unusual way. It has strong color, great shapes, and tight framing. I incorporated the cardboard in this image to ground it and to give it a sense of, where it is, what it is. I use the orange shapes in the background again, similar, because I'm trying to connect all the paintings to something, to the series. And I think this is a really wonderful little painting of a real object, but that you can enjoy it as an abstraction. I think what's a little intriguing about this painting is the one scraper that's sort of in the wrong direction, that the handle's on the bottom facing in, and it's a little different than everything else. But that's my view. That's how I see it. Need rope? This is just a beautiful display of rope, of diamond braided polypropylene rope. It has all the elements of color, texture, pattern, and great composition. What attracted me was the curved bundle on the bottom, along with the curved pattern that takes place on the rope when it is rolled up, the pattern that was taking place. I found that very attractive. This painting, I added the cardboard box as an integral part of the painting. And it's very important to note the rope in this painting is nestled in the box. Those pink and red were tags, but I made them pink and red, and I added them with arbitrary positioning because I just wanted to give this painting a little dose of unreality. I wanted to take it out of its real element. I think it's a beautiful painting, and I could look at this one for a while. Okay, I could not resist taking a picture and capturing this image. The sagging bags, the wrinkles, the organic shapes resting on top of one another, and the weightiness coupled with the color creates a unique reality in this painting. This let me build on the previous works of the turf builder and the stacked up and wrapped tight. I worked on the plastic stretching of the plastic. I kind of found a method how to do it, and I think it works very well in this painting. I think I figured it out. I think it carries along the energy of the early painting, the turf builder painting, and I mentioned already with the weightiness of the stacked up. The background color and light takes these bags to Hollywood. You will never see mulch look this good. And the word mulch just fits with this image in my view. I have a vision of Homer Simpson with a thought bubble over his head just going, mulch, when he looks at this painting. On this painting, I tried something different. I usually mix my dark colors using alizarin crimson and phthalo green, sometimes phthalo blue. This adds richness to the darker parts of the painting, and you get to adjust them to make them warmer or lighter, greener or bluer, depending on what you're working on. For the wrenches in this painting, I used only carbon black and titanium white. Sorry, I'm getting so technical, but it's the first time that I did that. It's the first time that I did something. I wanted to do something in black and white while having it sit on the shelving here that was done in the alizarin crimson and phthalo blue. I think that it works. I think the wrenches pop off the page. I think it's a very graphic composition. I added the labels to this composition because they help you define the angle and the depth of the draws. I also think the connector in this mashup, which is this very similar to the ladders, again, I'm harking back to that ladders painting where I like to do the mashup. But I think the connector here fits right in and kind of makes it a smooth connection between the top and the bottom. I think this is a common object that gives you a new way to look at this. And I think this is one of the paintings that maybe men can relate to. I took this picture very early on while I was in the store, but I could not figure out how to present it. I love the randomness of the cones, the stacking and the lighting coming off of that, but that alone did not work for me. When I applied the tight framing, which I was usually doing, tighten it, mash it up, turn it upside down, put it sideways, it just was not working. So this time I decided to pull back and incorporate the background into the painting. And that's what made the painting work. I used a looser style of painting in this, so you can actually see the brush strokes. It was sort of a reaction, painting this painter looser to the painting of the wrenches you just saw, which was a much tighter execution and much more exhausting to paint. I always struggle with that as an artist. I usually do start my painting, I go from a very general broad stroke and then make it more detailed as the painting moves on. But I really like paintings that are loose. I like my pastel drawings because the color overlaps each other, and I kind of like when there isn't always a defined edge. I find that to be very exciting. I think this painting works on many different levels. In this painting, also something new, I tried to incorporate the figure into the environment. Back to the plumbing wall again. I love that background. I wanted to connect with what I was doing. I think I improved in this painting on representing it, even though it's a looser style of painting. Adding the figure was an attempt to warm up the picture, maybe trying humanizing it. But it still connects with what I'm trying to do. The verdict is not out on this yet. I need to explore this whole idea of adding figures to the environments that I create. We'll see.
Hi, Bennett.
Hi, whoever that is. I can't see you. I have you covered up with my notes. So,
Cousin Michael.
hi, Michael. Thanks for joining me.
Hi.
It's Marcia too.
Hi, Masha.
Hi.
All right. Wait, I'm not done. You guys got to suffer through a whole bunch more. Not a bunch. Some.
Okay.
So this painting is one painting that I delight in seeing the object and the wonderful abstraction going on in the background. As I walk by these red brooms, I just love the color, the red bristles and the yellow tips. I took the picture, and when I looked at it, the picture on the computer, I saw what was going on in the background, how important that was. So this was the first time that I actually painted the background first. But I really struggled with it because I I started to make the background, much like the plumbing wall, very real, very more realistic. I really was concentrating on those shapes, thinking that there's your abstraction, and it's going to couple with the box and the squareness on the top and the bottom and this and that. And again, the canvas informed me of what to do, and I had to back off. I had to lighten it. I had to have the background recede. I had to back off from the reality of it and kind of loosen up the painting. So now, this painting, the background plays, it's probably the painting where the background plays the most important role in the painting, similar to the safety cones that you just saw. Your eyes are delightfully moved around the canvas and then are brought to the center by those beautiful red and yellow bristles. I use the same mashup technique as the ladders and the dowels and the wrenches. The connection is the brooms, though, on this one. The actual object, I think, is the connection that brings it from top to bottom. I can tell you it is a reflective painting, but nothing matches on the top and the bottom. And I think that's what makes this painting come alive. It's also very long. It's 48 inches high. I love this painting. I hope you do, too.
I do.
Need a mop? This is a great example of the real and the abstract coming together and getting to what I'm trying to achieve. I was really attracted to the pattern, texture, and the lighting. This is a painting where I also painted a darker underpainting, and it really worked trying to put white on top of white on top of white on top of the dark, because I think it really helped form the threads that are there, and the threads did not become just lightened white shapes. I added the green, which were the boxes these mops are resting in, as a little dose of reality. Here's a situation where I think the title is important. I think if the word mops wasn't in the title, if you might just think, oh, this is worms, or this is, cotton balls or something. But here the title tells you what it is, and then you can get the reaction that I'm actually looking for you to get. Okay. The next three images I'm going to show you all popped out at me. When I walked by this image, I was literally stopped in my tracks when I saw this. And I thought, oh my God, the art gods are smiling down at me. There was no need for a mashup here. I'm not really sure who set this up, if they saw it as I did, but I saw a bouquet of flowers, except it was filled with red spades. And it was set among a curtain of shovel handles. It was just perfect. I was able to use my cadmium red and yellow, which, as you've seen, I really love using. I used the method of the darker underpainting, adding white and yellow. There's a lot of yellow under that red, and I think it makes the shovels just fly off the page. That red is really, really rich. This painting is a real object, yes. It's abstract, no. But really, it's still taken, it's an object that's taken out of context. And I think it's really very pretty. And I think if you bring this home to your partner for your anniversary, I'm not quite sure what you'll get from that, but I think you should try that. This image also popped out at me. The distinct graphic pattern that the top of the WD-40 cans made provided me with another creative opportunity. This painting has all the elements I spoke about. It utilizes strong color, its composition, close framing. The cardboard box appears in here as well as my flattened legs, and I think that helps with the point of view. Adding the gradient yellow to the background just helps those cans pop off the canvas. This painting meets my objective of showing an object that also makes a beautiful abstraction. I hope this one puts a smile on your face. I hope you were able to see the growth and the progression of my ideas as we move through the show. I have one last painting to show you. This was one of those displays that I couldn't resist, and I knew right away that it was going to make a very strong painting. This painting is consistent with everything that you've seen tonight. I am happy that it's painterly, yet graphic, with a strong composition and a tight focus. I had this image taken a long time ago, and I had it sitting on my desk for a long time, but was hesitant to paint it because I knew it would be difficult. As you have just seen, my work does not carry a deep meaning or any kind of important message. I create pictures that may be pretty and enjoyable to look at, and they may reflect upon how you might see a small part of our world in a different way. But the pandemic gave me an opportunity to go ahead and paint this. I felt the need to express myself at this time, and this image gave me the path. The title here becomes very important. This message is very simple, strong, and timely. We really do need to hang together more than ever now. And yes, those are my legs on the left side of the painting. Maybe it really is a signature. I want to thank you all. I hope you shared my delight in viewing these paintings as much as I had in making them. And stay tuned, I'm not finished yet. I might actually go to Lowe's. I don't know. Thank you.
I